Hi, my name is Graham Hobbs, and I'm doing a review of the adapted version of The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, written by Robert Louis Stevenson. That's the original author.
Okay.
So anyway, the story is about these two people that hate each other. Their names are Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Anyway, there's this person who's been friends with Dr. Jekyll, and he had this terrible nightmare that actually happened. He kept thinking about it. Usually one night, Mr. Hyde was walking out of a house, and a little girl was walking by, and he kicked her fanny and left her screaming. The good news was she wasn't badly injured. Just probably some severe bruise, something like that.
Okay.
But then one night, the person who liked Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Utterson, visited Mr. Hyde, even though he didn't like any visitors. Here's the thing, he never had a photograph, he never let anyone look at his face, and other stuff. So anyway, Mr. Utterson came over and talked to him. He wanted Mr. Hyde to show his face in front of him, and when he did, he looked terrible. It looked like he had big bulbous eyes. So anyway, then one night, a strange man who was in black clothing was walking on the street twirling his cane around. But then, at some point in the morning, all that remained left was a broken cane and some blood. Then crime scene came by, and probably it might have been Mr. Hyde who had died, but also another one of Mr. Utterson's friends, Dr. Sanders, was probably dead. So it would probably be Mr. Hyde.
Okay.
So earlier, Mr. Utterson got a letter from found a will that was signed by Dr. Jekyll, and it said, "If I, Dr. Jekyll, ever dies or goes missing for 3 months, all of my fortune will go to my younger brother, Mr. Edward Hyde."
Okay.
So, anyway, it could have been Dr. Jekyll that died. It could be some random person. So, the good news was, if Mr. Hyde was really dead, that means that Mr. Utterson could finally recover from the nightmares he's been having about what happened.
Mhm.
So, by the way, Dr. Jekyll was feeling ill, very ill, like very. Anyway, he said, "I could not be cured, and I will not get better." So then he locked himself in his room.
What happened after he did that?
So anyway,
What kind of stuff was he doing?
He kept asking his servants to buy some drugs and chemicals from a vitamin shop and give it to him.
How was he acting?
But people did. Well, he was acting very strange. He kept asking for drugs, and they didn't taste good. It was like, and I started to think he was gonna die of drug overdose.
Was he like a monster?
Maybe. Usually he was a doctor,
Mhm.
a very great one.
Okay. Why do
So
you think he got
anyway,
like this?
During the maybe it's because of the illness.
Mhm.
But anyway, he did not let any of his friends come over to see him. Not even one.
Mhm.
And here's the weirdest thing. In the middle of the night, the person in the room would try and put his hand out of the slip his hand out the door and try and grab drugs and chemicals. And so later they start to real
Are you out
they
of breath,
started to
baby?
think that he had a disease, or he didn't want any of his friends to come over and see him. So that could probably be the illness. But then they start to realize that it might have been actually Mr. Hyde, who might have not been dead,
Mhm.
have been in there sneaking those drugs and chemicals. So they got some weapons and went inside. They chopped the door open with someone's hatchet, and then before that they realized that it was actually Mr. Hyde's voice that was speaking. So they chopped the door open and started looking for him, but it was too late.
What had happened?
He was gone.
Oh no. Where did he go?
I don't know. He's probably dead and hidden someplace.
Mm. So how did it end?
So then they walked over to another house, which could probably be Dr. Jekyll or maybe Mr. Hyde's laboratory, and they found this man trapped inside the house.
Mhm.
But he was working on a very important project.
Mhm.
So that man told them to get some chemical that was in some place of the house, and they had to give it to him. Then he poured it into the serum he was making, and then, in no time at all, Dr. Jekyll was actually dead, and he came out of it dead.
Mm. Is that how it ended?
Not exactly, because here's the thing. Dr. Jekyll told them all about what happened. So, one time, he was getting bored of his own life, so he decides to start a new one that would be more exciting. So he created this potion and drank it. So then he split into two sides, which his evil one was called Mr. Hyde later on.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, Dr. Jekyll was actually as Mr. Hyde.
Uh-huh. So he had like
had
two
two
personalities. He had
sides.
like two
Good
personalities.
and evil.
Uh-huh.
However, Mr. Hyde was getting stronger and Dr. Jekyll was getting weaker.
Okay.
So, well anyway, Mr. Hyde is younger than Dr. Jekyll.
Mhm.
But then, the actual Dr. Jekyll seems to notice that he's switching places one by one. So Mr. Hyde's might be in Dr. Jekyll's, and Dr. Jekyll's might be in Mr. Hyde's. So it's going to be a very confusing.
Mhm.
Then he just kept making the same potion and drank it more times.
Mhm.
Well, the process was usually painful.
Mhm.
But the problem was he kept changing sides more quickly. Even though the amount of pain was decreasing.
Mhm.
So it almost looked like as if he had to give up. Usually, probably real Dr. Jekyll was probably the one who booted the little in the center off screaming, even though it wasn't really his fault.
Kicked her in the what?
Booty.
He kicked her in the booty?
Well, as they would say
What'd they
in
say in the
England.
book? In the booty?
So, no, not really. I'm just giving.
Okay, what'd they say
describe
in the book?
detail.
In the butt?
No,
What'd they say?
no, I just meant to. I just meant to say that he was doing stuff like punching and kicking. the
Oh,
little
so
girl,
you're just speaking
even
like...
though she wasn't badly
Right.
injured.
So you're just saying he kicked her butt, like he beat her up.
Yeah.
Okay. So he didn't really
So
kick
anyway-
her in the fanny, he kicked her butt. He kicked her
So
fanny.
anyway,
Alright, sorry.
Dr. Jekyll was in his right body, but then it told them that his real self was dying and that was himself. So he died, and that was the end of the book.
Okay. Did you like it?
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. What are you going to read next?
I have no idea. I'll have to decide.
We have Sleepy Hollow, and we have White Fang, and we have Moby Dick.
I'll try and find out which book I'll read next.
Okay.